be with you guys right now. Okay. Order, 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 order in the court. What it do, people? It's your brother man from the motherland coming to you guys live from the NY, back with another one of that Samba conversation. For those that don't know who I am the Honorable Jones, the NBIC, representing that ROD to the death of we. Shout out, last but not least, shout out to you guys for your continuous support, leaving all your feedback, the positive, the negative. All things is respected and needed because it allows me to do what? Keep this gavel and bang it on you heathens, Hebrews, and heathenites next. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, but before I start, let me send my deepest condolences to the family members that was lost into this so-called hurricane. Definitely want to give a shout out to all you guys, you know what I'm saying? For those that survived it, made it out safely. And I know a lot of you guys is dealing with a lot of foolishness, homes being destroyed, powers being out. My love is here. If you need some spiritual wordings, I'm here for that. We could reach out to the heavenly ones and the ancestors and allow them to preserve y'all and preserve each other as we go through these rough times. But shout out to everybody that made it out safely. Shout out to those that wasn't affected at all. And for those that are affected, my love and I don't want to say condolences, but my love goes out to you guys. So we're gonna hold you down and I'm gonna lay it down, the smack it down on all these clowns. Round of applause for that. Yeah, man, I hope you guys like this new background. I've been playing around, what I'm saying, with the green screen and stuff. Pause. Shout out to Apple, man. Got a massive update and it's been doing phenomenal work. So I don't it minimizes the time and attention. But today is gonna be a good one, man. I hope you guys is prepared and we on that verge, on that how can I say, we on that mission to release ourselves from all this spiritual prison that we are in this establishment is all this religion, right? um the other day I was, matter of fact, let's backtrack. I know I told you guys that, moving forward, I will not be on at 11 p.m. at night. I'm going to bring it to 9 a.m. Reasonings why is a lot of you guys, a lot of us, and I don't want to exclude myself, but a lot of us need that spiritual connection, right? And the spiritual connection is gonna come with the four elements that I've said before, right? You gotta desire freedom. You gotta desire justice and health. You gotta desire prosperity. And of course, you gotta desire power. Now, these things is very important to us because when you look up the understanding of health and how health is something that's needed upon us as individuals, right? Health is something that we play with as, beautiful skinned people. We play with such behavior and things like that shouldn't be happening, but it's happening, right? To the point where we wait till the last minute and all the faith and trust that we have in the creators and our ancestors go out the window and we allow ourselves to be guinea pigs unto the enemy, right? And now I'm not saying you should not get yourself checked out, but what I'm saying is we gotta really cater to our health because our health is our wealth. And there's no riches and royalties that's on this earth will be suited for you until you do what you're supposed to do. And that is taking care of yourself. You understand? So definitely moving forward on that aspect and guiding my brothers and sisters and tapping into their spiritual side delivering information to remove the colonial mind and take us away from this Euro-Christian ideology, all of it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said before, the reason why I do not mention the heavenly ones like I used to in my old introductions is because I have to separate myself from the tactics of the enemy. The tactics of the enemies, the agents, all those that's working, using these intros to justify the Euro-Christian ideology, I must separate myself from that. Okay? And then when the creators provide me with another intro, I'll let it sim flow. You know what I'm saying? But until then, that's the reason why. But that's neither here nor there. I hope you guys had a phenomenal week. My week was fire. You know what I'm saying? Went to Philly yesterday, got my car situated. I'm happy about that. Today, I said, you know what? Oh, and for those that I promised that I was gonna come on last night, listen, man, me and the Wiz we was eating, we was watching a crazy movie. I lost track of time. By the time I looked at my phone, it was like 12 o'clock. I'm like, no. And I was tired, right? But N- neither here nor there. We here today. We're gonna give you a phenomenal presentation of the ship called Jesus. Yeah, the slave ship that was called Jesus. Now, shout out to, let me make sure I get these people's name right. Shout out to Rewriting Black Narratives. They are a YouTube channel. Support them, subscribe to them. They are all about Black liberation, rewriting the narrative that was painted upon Black people. So these brothers and sisters are out there working, doing the job. And the job is connecting back to our culture, ourselves, our ancestors, and last but not least, the creators of this universe. Okay? So shout out to them. But they put up a fire video, and it was only right for me to, I'm like, you know what? Definitely got to talk about that. I'm about to say the Jewish slave trade. You hear me? The slave trade, the slave ship called Jesus. Now, like I said before, the objective here on this podcast, on this broadcast, on this channel moving forward is to remove ourselves from Euro-Christian ideology. That is the problem. That is the foundation of our demise, is the Euro-Christian ideology. When we realize what the Euro-Christian ideology has done to our people and is still doing damage to our people, which they're using the Biblos to do so, when we realize the damage that's being done by their works and their writings, then we're going to be able to start healing ourselves and start connecting to the heavenly ones, our ancestors, the way we supposed to. But I know my intros be crazy, but you know, I'm from Brooklyn. This is what we do, right? But without further ado, I'm gonna play this video for you. It's 30 minutes. After the 30-minute video is done, we're gonna go through religion and how they had their hands in slavery. So grab yourself some popcorn, some water, some tea, some coffee. Hope it's mushroom coffee, and get ready for this show because we're about to implode. And without further ado, let's go. Oh, and I will be popping up from in and out. Copyright reasons, I have to do that because I have to present it as educational purposes. So I will be popping up in and out. Okay? So just fair warning. This is a FYI. Let's go.
Your new book with a very interesting title, A Slave Ship Called Jesus. You know, when I first saw this book and I considered us featuring it, I said, I hope I won't get in trouble with viewers. I mean, considering, of course, for obvious reasons.
It is hard hitting.
Yeah, a slave ship called Jesus. Why this title and what motivated this book? I would like you to introduce it to viewers, and then we dig in.
Before I let it play, I just want you guys to understand that you're getting brothers and sisters in the land, African people, you know, whether you in Africa, whether you in America, whether you in any various locations, you're getting an abundance amount of people waking up to the understanding that this thing called religion has sabotaged our lives, sabotaged our ways, and brothers and sisters just don't want it no more. Now, they're gonna say when you reject that, you becoming an atheist. No, when you are part of a religion is when you are an atheist because you are worshiping a God that you don't know, that you following a culture that you didn't know prior to slavery. Now, if we are on the verge of seeking redemption and freedom, then this so-called religion has to be removed from us. And people say, oh, we was doing this before they got there. You need to provide the evidence. If you're unable to provide the evidence, then that's past tense, like it's behind us. We moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It's that time, you know? And I know you guys feel it. I know you guys understand what I'm saying. But, you know, the Euro Christian, 400 years or something, is not easily to break loose. But the job for me and you is to keep fighting until we break loose. So just wanted to just throw that out there. Let us continue.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the title is concerned, I was just minding my own business. Africans should, seeking to teach myself about what happened in that trade. What was it all about? How did it start?
By trade, you mean
the slave trade?
Transatlantic slave
The transatlantic slave trade. How did it start? What was going on? And it's in the course of research that you come across certain factual details and finding the...
And as you can see, he says factuals. And on this podcast and on this channel, it's facts over beliefs, people. Just wanted to just throw that out there.
One of the ships was called Amazing Grace. Another one was called a slave ship. It was called, the Jesus of Lubeck. Now that hit me hard. Given that I was raised in a Christian setting, I was struck by the fact that this evil trade, this where you ship people out of their continents, you wrench them out of their environment, you shove them into the boat, chain them down, you sail them across the oceans onto these plantations where they're often worked to death systematically. And these ships can be called the Jesus of Lubeck.
Religious names.
Religious names.
On the first day of the month of August 2022, a group of the leaders of the global reparations movement met with the Vatican to discuss the Catholic Church's involvement with the transatlantic slave trade.
And I just wanted to just throw this out there. You know why this will never prosper? Because you can't deal and walk with the devil and sleep with him and chill with them at the same time. You just can't. I'm sorry. This should be nothing but colored people, but you see this the mixed multitude. Watch out for these Johnny Brascos, man. This is the coconuts I be talking about, man. I'm just saying. Let us continue.
Ways in which the church can make amends with the descendants of enslaved Africans. The group had detailed on the need for the church to formally address its role with a papal reparations commission and financial retribution for the lineages of African ancestors who were victims of slavery in the past. The Global Circle for Reparations and Healing, GCRH, a delegation of reparations leaders arrived in Rome, led by Cam Howard, Director of Reparations United, and included Dr. Ron Daniels, convener of the National African American Reparations Commission, NAARC, Dr. Amara Enyer, strategist for the GCRH, and Nicole Hannah-Jones, author of The 1619 Project, A New Origin Story. They had met with Bishop Paul Teig, Secretary of the Pontifical Council of Culture, at the Vatican. The group delivered a presentment outlining the harms and offences of the Church regarding the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. The presentment also referenced the legacy of those harms and offences and reparations measures that are needed for full repair.
The effects of the transatlantic slave trade and the harms inflicted on our ancestors continue to cause systemic damage to this day.
Thus said Cam Howard, Director of Reparations United, who is co-convener of the GCRH.
The Catholic Church has admitted that it played a role in the transatlantic slave trade, and the purpose of our meeting was to provide a roadmap to allow us to move forward toward true reparatory justice. The focus now will be on continued conversations to move the work forward to ensure repair becomes a reality.
During the meeting, Bishop Tigges suggested that the moment is ripe for the presentment to be seriously considered by the Church under the guidance of Pope Francis. He cited Pope Francis's encyclical Fratelli Tutti as evidence of the Pontiff's commitment to explore issues of justice, equality, and reconciliation. Bishop Tigges agreed to share the presentment to leaders within the Church and offered suggestions for initiating a process for moving forward with talks.
When talking about slavery, particularly the transatlantic slave trade and its after effects, there are certain institutions that directly benefited and continue to reap those benefits.
Dr. Ron Daniels, convener of NARC and co-convener of the GCRH, had chipped in.
Our goal is to hold those institutions accountable and ensure that they play a major role in helping to repair the communities that have been harmed. I am encouraged by the conversation with Bishop Teague and look forward to creating real change for African descendants of enslavement throughout the diaspora.
This was a serious meeting of deliberation, and present at the Vatican meeting were representatives of other GCRH organisations and supporters representing the Global African Congress, UK, Black Europe Summer School, Netherlands, NIA Foundation, Netherlands, First Repair, US, Questa e Roma, Italy, and the African Future Action Lab, Europe. We may never realize how deeply slavery was embedded in the American economy. Slavery fueled the growth of many of our contemporary institutions, including the Catholic Church. Many Southern Christians felt that slavery, in one Baptist minister's words, stands as an institution of God. Here are some common arguments made by Christians at the time. 1. Abraham.
Again, these individuals they use religion as a reasoning into your enslavement. They use the Old Testament as a reasoning to your enslavement. They wrote certain things like Deuteronomy to justify your enslavement. I'm telling you guys this. Listen carefully. If you guys don't believe what I'm saying, I want you to ask yourself one question. If Moses died, if Moses wrote the 5 books of Moses, how do Moses write his death in the Bible? How that doesn't even make sense. That's for one. For two, the writings of him being dead, where is the location of his burial? The Biblos tell you where they bury him. Why isn't there any route? The way that these people exploring Africa, exploring the world, they should have found it already. From the time of Moses to 2024, they should have found it already. But the fact that we not finding none of these so-called bodies of these characters of the Biblos leads room to question what's being given unto us. And when you start questioning and you start doing your research, you'll realize where the Old Testament was created from, also where the New Testament was created from. The Old Testament, I be forgetting. I got to write it down. But the New Testament, straight from the Book of the Dead. Buy yourself the Book of the Dead, or it's called the Book of the Day and Night, or Night and Day. That's the actual name. But they call it the Book of the Dead because they don't want, as Christians, you're not allowed to, read dead people. You don't glorify dead people, but you glorify Jesus every day. He's dead. Or if you want to call him dead. You follow the ways of Moses and the Israelites that are dead. But let us continue.
The father of faith and all the patriarchs held slaves without God's disapproval. 21 verses 9 to 10. 2. Canaan, Ham's son, was made a slave to his brothers. Genesis 9 verses 24.
And Canaan was made a slave of something that Ham did. So Ham did something wrong, but Canaan receives the curse. That alone makes you question what's being written unto you. Because the last time I checked, any man that commits a sin, he must bear his own sin. Now all of a sudden, a sin is getting passed down to Canaan. What? So what happened to? So what about what about everybody else? Shouldn't Noah be penalized for being drunk? Nothing happened. Shouldn't Levi and Simeon be penalized for the sin that shouldn't that sin of killing those people without the okay? Shouldn't that be penalized? I know. Let us continue.
To 27. 3. The Ten Commandments mentioned slavery twice, showing God's implicit acceptance of it. Exodus chapter 20 verses 10 and 17. 4. Slavery was widespread throughout the Roman world, and yet Jesus never spoke against it. 5. The Apostle Paul specifically commanded slaves to obey their masters. Ephesians 6 verses 5 to 8. 6. Paul returned a runaway slave, Philemon, to his master. Book of Philemon 12.
Yeah. But this is about us though, right? Yeah. Don't worry. We're gonna have an in-depth conversation when this video is done.
Slavery removes people from a culture that worshipped the devil, practiced witchcraft and sorcery and other evils.
This one right here hit home for me, because this is the same thing people tell me. People tell me that when we fell because we was doing this, but they don't realize that these people came and violated us because we didn't want to submit unto what they was doing and gave us ultimatums. And when we turned it down, they violated us, they reconstructed, and then they put together a book. And within the book, they made sure that they gave you Exodus. Remember, Exodus was written before Genesis, okay? Exodus was written before Genesis. So the reason why they created Genesis, because they had to create a story to give you a narrative into why we should be following the ways of Abram. Just like I gave you alive and breaking down the Noah story. All of it is not true. It's not true. Noah comes from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Go look that up. Read that story. The tablets, the tablets are still here. You could get the PDF and get the translation. They are still there for you guys to see. And you're going to realize that these people are just copying and pasting. But yet you're going to tell us this is our story. Let us continue.
This one really held grounds then, as though witchcraft and sorcery weren't also practiced by Europeans. People are treated with kindness, as many northern visitors can attest. I wonder who were the northern visitors that could attest to a thing such as kindness in the gross inhumanity of slavery. 9. Slavery is God's means of protecting and providing for an inferior race, suffering the curse of Ham in Genesis 9 verse 25, or even the punishment of Cain in Genesis 4 verse 12. 10. Those who support abolition of slavery are, in James H. Thornwell's words, atheists, socialists, communists, and red Republicans.
So as you heard what he said, he says those that is against slavery are atheists. Like I tell you, you are an atheist. When you separate from their religion, you are an atheist. Oh, excuse me. They are the atheists because no, let me take that back. You are an atheist when you are subjected unto their religion, because by default, you denounce who you are, your culture, your upbringings, your suffering, your misery, and because you do that, you will never receive your triumph. because you don't know who you are. You believe in this as this is who you are. But let us continue.
This could just go on, taking one's mind into a labyrinth as a northern church. But the Catholic Church established its foothold in the South and relied on plantations and slave labor to help finance the livelihoods of its priests and nuns and to support its schools and religious projects. This is the history that we all should know. Enslaved people have largely been left out of the origin story that is traditionally told about the Catholic Church and other religious institutions. In 2005, for example, Cardinal Avery Dulles wrote a book review in First Things claiming that the popes had denounced the trade in African slaves from its very beginnings and yet had never condemned slavery as such, retaining a continuity of teaching that always allowed for some attenuated forms of servitude. Other apologists have taken a more absolute position. The Church has always been against slavery itself. Both these lines of argumentation seem to agree on two central assertions. The popes always condemned the trade in African slaves, and the Church's teaching did not change. Defending the Church either in its reputation or its doctrinal continuity can be praiseworthy. But when it comes to the history of the Catholic Church and slaveholding, this posture of defense has been deeply damaging. It has unnecessarily led to confusion around the Church's history with slaveholding, and that confusion has helped to prevent the Church from reckoning with a troubling history whose consequences are still present in our world. And yet,
Read this book. Read this book. Purchase this book and read it. And it'll show all these images that you're seeing. Read it. When you look carefully at those pictures, you notice that it was children. You notice that it was children. Read the book. Don't listen. Don't listen to me. Read. Get your head away from the biblos and go read other literatures by those that impose such religion. The diaries. Read Christopher Columbus works. Okay? Read the Spook at the Door. There's a lot of literature and documented information of what these people did to get you to follow such religion. And when you go down that hole, you're gonna realize that all this commandment that they told us that we was keeping, far-fetched. We didn't know nothing about that. In South Africa, the commandments came from America into South Africa, and they introduced it to the people in the late 1800s, early 1900s. You do your homework. Prior to that, when we was kings and queens, we didn't know nothing about that. This is not of our culture. I don't know how to express this, expound on it. It is not of our culture. I know it's a tough pill to digest. Pause, super pause. But this is not of our culture. That if people is in, listen, check this out. Think about this for a second. If people is in South Africa right now, then if this is something that we do, it was still been practicing to this day, and we could trace it back thousands of years. Nobody can do so. But I can show you, I can put up pictures and show you individuals that's been practicing their cultures. They could trace it back 3,000 years. And you telling me we can't? Not all of us was put on these cargo slave ships, people. Why the other nations don't know about it? When I mean the other nations, your other relatives, your cousins, you know what I'm saying? Remember, Japheth and Shem, according to the Biblos, are related. So whatever the relatives is doing, we're going to know. Oh yeah, so he's doing this. Yeah, he's doing that. But there's no correlation. People can't say, nah, we don't know that. The only people that's claiming to know that are those that's been colonized, re-indoctrinated from a youth. You see them? Youth. You see this one right here, right next to the window. You see the little thing on his head. What you gonna say? That's a Jew, right? Come on, man, wake up. And they was making them go to school, and they was making them go to church on the Sabbath day. But yeah, I thought we knew that we was Hebrews. I mean, I thought we knew we was keeping the commandments. They was teaching them that. The white people didn't even, when you read this book, the white man didn't even want them. The white man didn't even want them to learn. I'm talking about the slave masters. They didn't even want them to learn their religion because they said that you was unworthy. Let them keep their African thing. It's because of Nat Turner and all these people that was rebellion. It was a high rebel that was going on. We was having strength. We was having might. They was like, yo, where is this coming from? Word got back from Leopold and all of these people that was already in the land sabotaging it. Said you have to detach them from their spirituality. When you detach them from who they are, when you detach them from their connection from the earth. Think about this. From the minute slavery had presented itself, what rebellion had happened upon the African people? Make that make sense. The last rebel was in, I think it was about 1872, if not a little further. I'm talking about rebel, not this civil rights nonsense. I'm talking about pure rebel. I'm talking about a whole bunch of niggas saying, yo, we about to get it shaken. When religion was presented, once they got us, once you read this and you see how they got us, it's going to explain why we still in this condition that we are in now and why we sitting here talking about Sunni is gonna come and redeem us. Yeah, let's go.
It was once widely known, and still is among historians of slavery today, that the trade in enslaved Africans and allowed its priests, religious and laity to keep people as enslaved chattel. The Jesuits, for example, by the historian Andrew Deal's count, owned over 20,000 enslaved people circa 1760. The Jesuits and other slaveholding bishops, priests and religious were not disciplined for their slaveholding because they were not breaking church teachings. Slaveholding was allowed.
They wasn't penalized because they wasn't breaking church teachings, right? What was one of the church teachings? Ham is cursed, Deuteronomy, all of these things, what they put together to justify their atrocities towards you. But you're going to let individuals tell you that, oh yeah, man, you ain't keep the laws. That's why you suffering. This is why we at the bottom, because we ain't keep the laws. Where did this ideology come from? Where did this ideology come from? Yeah, okay.
By the Catholic Church. In reacting to the effects of European encroachments into Africa, Jomo Kenyatta had said, "When the Europeans came to our lands, we had the lands and they had the Bible. They taught us to pray with our eyes closed. When we opened our eyes, they had the land and we had the Bible."
Did you guys catch that? They taught you how to pray and close your eyes. We don't know what praying is. It's not of our culture. We give praise, we dance, we do rituals. We do the out of body experience type of things, like walking on fire. I posted up a video and I put it and I gave it to a group of individuals and they rejected it. Like, that's demons. Like, what? Fam, this is your culture. This is your strength. This is your might. This is your power. This is what we have when we connect to our ancestors and we stay connected to the universe and we connect to the heavenly ones according to the heavenly ones, according to the traditions of our people. Not this Eurocentric, Euro-Christian ideology that's destroying us. You heard what was said? This is not me saying this. I gotta play these videos so you can know that I ain't wilding. I ain't losing my mind. I'm saying enough is enough. That's what I'm saying. Enough with the teachings, enough with the lies, enough with the foolishness. If this is the facts, provide me with the facts. Don't give me the beliefs. We don't stand on beliefs over here. Beliefs is for children. I'm a grown ass man, bro. I got children and all that. We don't do beliefs where I come from. We stand on facts. You believing in the Biblos is just like a child believing that Santa Claus comes out of the chimney into the project buildings, coming out of the project elevator to deliver gifts. It's just that foolish. I know. I'm going to say it because it's the facts.
Dr. Joseph Ben Yochanan had also stated, Africa took both the from Dr. J. Henrik Clark. I question the intelligence of anyone who believes that everything written in the Bible is true. Yet another one still from Napoleon Bonaparte, who said religion had stopped the poor from killing the rich. In Europe, Karl Marx had stated too that religion is the opium of the masses. The list could go on and on.
Did you guys hear that? Religion stopped the poor from killing the rich. I didn't say that. This is Napoleon. This is these people. Religion stopped the poor from killing the rich. Wow. Wow. Sunini is coming. Don't worry, Jesus is coming. Yeshua is coming. Missindisi is coming. These people are coming. Stop you. Listen to what was said. This is not me saying, this is Europeans talking. But Jones is wilding though. Jones is wilding.
And on. The transatlantic slave trade was introduced by the coming of the Europeans, who came with the Bible in the same manner that Arab raiders and traders from the Middle East and North Africa introduced Islam through the trans-Saharan slave trade. In fact, the church was the backbone of the slave trade, historians had pointed out. In other words, most of the slave traders and slave ship captains were very good Christians.
He says slavery was the backbone to the churches. Now, how do you have individuals understanding the rules and regulations of a church? You must present them a biblos. And when you give them the biblos, you must give them stories where they can understand. For example, I'm going to put that the reason why you are in these circumstances because you are a curse, you are Ham. Then I'm gonna say the reason why you fell is because you are you broke the commandments. You see, you gotta keep the commandments, young man. You gotta follow the ways of the Lord, young man. Don't put no other gods before you. Whatever your mother and your daddy was doing, that is a DUB. Don't do that no more. Follow me and you will be set free. Believe in Jesus and he will come and deliver you from all the trials and tribulations because the kingdom of this heaven, the kingdom of God is on its way. And we fell for that. And we believed that. And we preached that. And we taught that. In 2024, they taking everything back. And yet you still believing that something is gonna come. These people are running, controlling the weather, doing everything. These people got free will right now. Why? Because we have been totally, and I repeat, totally disconnected from our creators. We still calling on Father. Can't find a precept in the Old Testament where the Biblo, where Abram that you call on said Father. Can't find it. $1,000 to anybody that can find it. Can't find it. But when people start waking up and start putting these things out, you get individuals that has a rebuttal. You know why they have rebuttals? Because these dudes are working for Lucifer. You have been hired. You've been hired for murder. You're murdering your people's spirituality. You are murderers. You are not doing the will of the creators. You are not representing your ancestors. You was not fighting for those that was violated, that you seen on ships that's picking cotton. And you minimize what they've done by accepting the fact that it's because of us that we was in slavery. Like we wasn't just in our land chilling, feeding our children, minding our business, worshiping our gods. But these people came with barrels and handguns and tell you if you don't follow this, this is what's gonna happen to you. Shooting cannon. Do you know another word for the biblos is called the canon? The canon writings? Come on, son. These people know it's shooting your head off because they know once you are indoctrinated with this and you're going to stand on this, you're willing to fight and die for this. Friendships is lost because of beliefs. People want to shy away because of a belief. It's not even facts. It's just a belief. But everything that I've been presenting to you guys is facts. Make it make sense. Don't worry. Your savior is coming.
For example, Sir John Hawkins, the first slave ship captain to bring African slaves to the Americas, was a religious man who insisted that his crew serve God daily and love one another. His ship, ironically called the Good Ship Jesus, left the shores of his native England for Africa in October 1562. Yes, you heard right. The first British slave ship to reach the Americas was called the Good Jesus. What has come to be referred to as the Good Ship Jesus was in fact the Jesus of Lubeck, a 700-ton ship purchased by King Henry VIII from the Hanseatic League, a merchant alliance between the cities of Hamburg and Lubeck in Germany. 20 years after its purchase, the ship, in disrepair, was lent to Sir John Hawkins by Queen Elizabeth. John Hawkins had the dubious distinction of becoming the first slave ship captain to bring Africans to the Americas. He was granted permission from Queen Elizabeth for his first voyage in 1562. He was allowed to carry Africans to the Americas with their own free consent, and he agreed to this condition. Hawkins had a reputation for being a religious...
I just want to throw that out there. The Queen could trace her bloodline back to the KJV. The person that wrote that? Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, he put together a book that we are all infatuated with. When I was with the Hebrew people, I was told that you got to read the KJV because it's the closest thing to the Hebrew writings. I come to this Bantu awakening. Now I'm hearing that it's the closest thing to the Bantu scrolls. But yo, but yeah, but you guys still don't see that. Let us continue.
This man who required his crew to serve God daily and to love one another. Sir Francis and a subsequent others. Drake, too, was himself devoutly religious. Services were held on board twice a day. In this very voyage, off the coast of Africa near Sierra Leone,
services was held on board twice a day. So even when the slaves was getting ready to get sent to the West, they was having services on the ship twice a day. I don't think you guys is catching that, but let us continue.
Hawkins captured 300 to 500 slaves, mostly by plundering Portuguese ships, but also through violence and subterfuge, promising Africans free land and riches in the New World. He sold most of the slaves in what is now known as the Dominican Republic. He returned home with a profit and ships laden with ivory hides and sugar. Thus had begun the slave trade. On his return to England, Queen Elizabeth had grown very furious at Hawkins, charging that his endeavour was detestable and would call down vengeance
That was a lie, just an FYI, that's a lie.
from heaven upon the undertakers. When Elizabeth became fully aware, however, of the profits to be made, she had joined in partnership with Hawkins and provided him with the Jesus of Lubeck, aka the Good Ship Jesus. A later slaving expedition in 1567, consisting of 5 ships, and the Jesus of Lubeck met with resistance from the Spaniards at St. Juan de Loa in Mexico. Since the slave trade was illegal, Spanish colonists usually required a charade of force from British ships, after which they would buy slaves at a discount. This time around, however, the Spaniards attacked the British ships and the Jesus of Lubeck, cumbersome and difficult to maneuver, was sunk and the crew slaughtered. Hawkins escaped with Drake on a smaller ship. Hawkins, his piratic ambitions dashed, returned to England and remained there in the service of the Queen. He gained distinction for his pivotal role in defeating the Spanish Armada and was knighted in 1588. The British did not initiate, but they did dominate the Atlantic slave trade. Few expressed moral or ethical doubts about slavery. The Anglican Church was directly involved in slavery. When a Christian voice was raised against the slave trade, it was led by Quakers who also played a critical role in the campaign to end the slave trade. In fact, few people raised their voice against the Atlantic slave trade until the mid-18th century. There had been isolated objectors, but on the whole, the trade developed without any real sense of religious objection. It was almost as if the slave trade was morally neutral. It is true there had been the occasional Christian denunciation of slave trading, most notably from early Puritans and Quakers. George Fox had denounced it as early as 1673, but as the trade grew, involving ever more people and industries to feed the slave ships, and as the material bounty from the slave colonies flowed back to Britain, such criticisms were drowned out by the sound of profitable trade. In the century before abolition in 1807, the British had shipped more than 3 million Africans to the plantations. The suffering of the Africans on the ships and plantations were undeniable, but raised barely a whisper. Indeed, godly men came to think of the trade as a simple fact of life. God-fearing men went.
And out of those 3 million, those same slave members was told, out of those 3 million, 144 will make it and be alive to see the kingdom, or see the kingdom that Jesus bring down. You could go find these documentations. This story that been told to us, this has been told to us for generations. Generations. Religion prevented the poor from attacking and killing or unaliving the rich. This is not me saying this. This is the Biblos. This is the writers. This is the generals. This is them. The colonels. This is them. Listen carefully, people. Take notes. If you want me to put this video, the full video, leave a comment. Tell me you want to see the whole video in its full entirety, and I got you. Yeah, we outside.
About their godless business. George Whitefield, an evangelist in America, slave captain John Newton saw nothing odd as he put his rebellious Africans in the thumbscrews before settling down to pray for a safe and profitable passage to the Americas. Newton came to regret his slaving past and is now more famous as a cleric and hymn writer than a slave trader, but his conversion was not so much a sudden revelation as a
He was a hymn writer. He's making the songs. He's giving you the book of Psalms.
gradual dawning of true faith and a rejection of his sinful past. And there had been nothing more sinful than his slaving days, though at the time neither he nor thousands more thought it wicked. Through all this, the Church of England was, by turns, complicit and then transformed. By a quirk of inheritance, the Anglican SPCG, founded in 1701, had inherited plantations in 1710, mainly in Barbados, from Christopher Codrington, a former soldier, government official and planter. The plantations and their resident slaves were managed like any other absentee plantation, their sugar-based profits flowing back to their owners, the Church of England. The slaves were branded, a common pattern in the islands, and there were occasional concerns expressed about their well-being.
Now, the branding is you becoming property. You becoming part of the Johnsons. You becoming part of the Williams, the Lewises, the list goes on. That's the branding. Remember, prior to that, we don't know nothing. We didn't know nothing. Let us continue.
In 1760, the Archbishop of Canterbury wrote, "I have long worried and lamented that the Negroes in our plantations decrease. Surely this proceeds from some defect, both of humanity and even of good policy, but we must take things as they are at present." And so it continued until, at full emancipation in 1833, the Church was compensated to the tune of £8,833 for the loss of their slaves on Codrington. Throughout, whatever the unease or discomfort, there was no sense that slave ownership was irreligious. It was a matter of rendering unto Caesar. The Church was present throughout the lifespan of slavery in the New World. Contrary to popular opinion, Christianity was by no means solely an anti-slavery advocate. For the most part, there is plenty of evidence to support the Christian Church's struggle for the abolition of the despicable institution.
Like I told you, the objective was to get the children. You see all the pictures with the children? This book right here explains all of that. Teach it to the children. Just like Leopold said, teach the children. Teach the children and give them so much knowledge that they're gonna combat what they're being told by their mothers. And they know their gods. They know the rules of the land. They knew the laws. We had laws. Don't let these people try to feed you and make it seem like we some savage people. We're not savage people. African people, when you go to Africa, Africa is the least murderous country of it all. They have to bring chaos and war and division and fighting, amongst each other to justify their foolishness. We don't war like that, bro. We don't like seeing the shedding of blood. A lot of us stomachs still churn if we see blood. When my Wiz is on her PMS and I go to the bathroom and I see a pad, I'm jump like, oh, we don't like seeing that. We don't. It's not in our nature. It's not in our culture. Them, on the other hand, I'll leave it as that.
But there is also evidence to defend the contrary. Because slavery Notwithstanding this, there were still many who were adamant abolitionists. However, there are obviously many different forms of religion derived from Catholic and Protestant roots, as well as an infinite number of independent beliefs. Different Christian sects had different ways of addressing the sensitive topic of African bondage.
You see what's in the back of his head? They had different perspectives. All of these people wanted to have PC into your demise, right? Make you believe in what they believe in. Make you follow what they've created for you to follow. Remember, what you do is evil and wicked. Exodus chapter 20, read. Thou shalt not have no other God before me. Oh, for real? Really? Yeah, we should not have any other God before me. And then the people that's keeping these commandments can't even live to see 100. This is facts. Show me somebody that you know that keep the commandments day in, day out. That's at least 95 years old. I'll wait.
There were differences of opinion both among and within these objection to slavery had problems convincing all of their members that it was evil. Some of them even owned slaves. Some historians argue that if churches had used their power, the Atlantic slave trade might have never occurred. One of them was Albert Barnes, a 19th century abolitionist, who suggested that the institution of Christianity alone was powerful enough to have stopped or even prevented slavery from developing in the New World. The church, he argued, was the great opponent of slavery during the Roman Empire, as well as during colonialism in the New World. Although the latter point is particularly debatable, yet Barnes believed that if all of the different denominations pulled together, there would be no other power strong enough to combat it. Slavery would have been non-existent. Still, the fact remains that many slaveholders were Christians, and some were even members of the clergy. Even some missionaries to the colonies owned slaves. Bartolomé de las Casas, a Catholic priest and missionary who stationed in Hispaniola in the early 16th century, owned Native American slaves and later swapped them in for the more durable and work-friendly African slaves. He wrote to Spain suggesting that the slaveholders cease the use of Native Americans as slaves because they were unable to cope with the harsh working conditions and European diseases that were wiping them out. The Africans, on the other hand, were sturdier and better equipped to withstand European disease. The Catholic Church had a major presence in slavery in the New World. According to Richard Miller, Catholic countries were the prime movers in the revival of slavery in the Old World and the introduction of it into the New World. The Church of Rome did not consider the African slave a human being until 1839. Miller adds that this only occurred after the abolition movement by the American Anti-Slavery Society and the certainty of the handwriting on the wall that someday slavery would be abolished. Even though there were missionaries in the islands who were devoted to the abolition of slavery, there were some that were just as bad as the plantation holders when it came to the treatment of their slaves. Halley argued that the Baptist missionaries in Barbados petitioned for the emancipation of slaves, or at least the improvement of their living conditions, yet they were severely mistreating their own slaves. He also reported that the missionaries neglected the slaves' religious lessons and did not permit their slaves to learn to read. The slaves were not even given their Sabbath to worship. This time was allotted to them to care for their own land. Robert Halley had similar comments on the slaves in Mauritius and Jamaica. The slave must work on the Sabbath and has little time for himself. The last Jamaica slave code allows 26 Saturdays in the year, which I have seen disingenuously represented as holidays. But as 26 days of labor, even in that climate, are totally insufficient to maintain a family, he must be compelled to cultivate his provision ground on the Sabbath. Here it was not only slaves belonging to the missionaries, but those belonging to white plantation owners. Nancy Prince was disappointed with the condition of the Baptist churches in Jamaica. She said that the meeting houses were unruly and seemed more like playhouses than a place of worship. She noted that the churches were overcrowded and unorganized. She also noted that many of the blacks were underdressed, some without shoes. According to a 2015 Global Black History report, the Catholic Church did not oppose the institution of slavery until the practice had already become infamous in most parts of the world. In most cases, the churches and church leaders did not condemn slavery until the 17th century. The 5 major countries that dominated slavery and the slave trade in the New World were either Catholic or still retained strong Catholic influences, including Spain, Portugal, France, and England, and the Netherlands. Persons.
And what do all these places got in common? They all had their hands in Africa. Now, you heard them saying, oh, they didn't give them a day of Sabbath. All lies. All lies. That's what they used to call the day of rest. That's what they meant, day of rest. They gave you that understanding. That's what they call Sabbath for them, day of rest. Remember, all of them is together. These are Euro-Christian people. Okay? So don't get it twisted. Gotcha. Let's continue.
Who considered themselves to be Christian played a major role in upholding and justifying the enslavement of Africans, said Dr. Jonathan Chisholm, an assistant professor of history at the University of Houston downtown. Many European Christian slavers perceived Africans as uncivilized persons. They justified slavery by rationalizing that they were Christianizing and civilizing their African captors, even went as far as filtering the truths of the gospel to keep them under control. In fear they would eventually awaken to that which they're entitled to as Christians and demand freedom and equality if they knew the truth like it was. Obedience to their masters, therefore, without questioning the laws, became the indoctrination applied till date. Many Anglo-Christians defended slavery using the Bible. White Christian apologists for slavery argued that the curse of Ham in Genesis chapter 9 verses 20 to 25 provided a biblical rationale for the enslavement of blacks. In this passage, Noah cursed Canaan and his descendants, arguing that Ham would be the lowest of slaves among his brothers, because he saw the unclothedness of his father. A further understanding of the passage also revealed that while some have attempted to justify their prejudice by claiming that God cursed the black race, no such curse is recorded in the Bible. That often cited verse says nothing whatsoever about skin color. Also, it should be noted that black race evidently descended from a brother of Canaan named Cush. Canaan's descendants were evidently light-skinned, not black. Truly nothing in the biblical account identifies Ham, the descendant of Canaan, with Africans. Yet Christian apologists determined that Africans were the descendants of Ham. Nevertheless, at the beginning of the 16th century, the racial interpretation of Noah's curse became commonplace. In 2016, Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. offered a public apology after acknowledging that 188 years prior, Jesuit priests sold 272 slaves to save the school from financial ruin. This is how the New York Times first reported the story. The human cargo was loaded on ships at a bustling wharf in the nation's capital, destined for the plantations of the Deep South. Some slaves pleaded for rosaries as they were rounded up, praying for deliverance. But on that day in the fall of 1838, no one was spared.
They was praying. They asked for rosaries. They was praying. They said, Lord, give me a sign. Please don't let me go. Please, please. Sunini, Missinisi, Yeshua, Yeshaya, please. I know you can hear me. Please, please. Yeah, I know. Get mad. Get mad. I hope you are very pissed off. But don't take it out on me. Take it out at the enemies that was giving you such literature.
Not the 2-month-old baby and her mother, not the field hands, not the shoemaker, and not Cornelius Hawkins, who was about 13 years old when he was forced on board. This was no ordinary slave sale. The enslaved African Americans had belonged to the nation's most prominent Jesuit priests, and they were sold, along with scores of others, to help secure the future of the premier Catholic institution of higher learning at the time, known today as Georgetown University. The Society of Jesus, who helped to establish Georgetown University and whose leaders enslaved and mercilessly sold your ancestors, stands before you to say that we have greatly sinned. Reverend Timothy Kasicki, S.J., President of the Jesuit Conference of Canada and the United States, had said during a liturgy of remembrance, contrition, and hope, "We pray with you today because we have greatly sinned and because we are profoundly sorry." During the early Republic, Catholics celebrated the new constitution for its guarantee of religious liberty while simply accepting its guarantee of slaveholding. Internal church politics mattered too. When the Jesuit order was suppressed in 1773, the plantation system of the order in Maryland was seen as a protection for their identity and solidarity. The Universal Church taught that slavery enjoyed the sanction of Scripture and natural law. Throughout the antebellum period, many churches in the South committed to sharing their version of the Christian faith with blacks. They believed that their version of Christianity would help them to be good slaves and not challenge the slave system. One of the reasons the church...
Did you hear that? Are you guys hearing what I'm hearing? This book tells you about that too. Oh yeah. I know.
His past approval of slaveholding is so little known among the general Catholic population today is that the very popes who reversed the Church's course on slavery and the slave trade also promoted that same inaccurate narrative that defended the Church's reputation and continuity, even, intentionally or not, at the cost of the truth. Condemning the Atlantic slave trade. The shifts began quietly. In 1814, Pope Pius VII, at the request of Great Britain prior to the upcoming Congress of Vienna, privately sent letters to the kings of France and Spain asking them to condemn the slave trade. At this time in history, condemning the trade did not equate to condemning slavery itself. The slave trade meant the transatlantic shipping of enslaved persons from the African continent to the New World. Hence, the slaveholding US President Thomas Jefferson, prior to signing an anti-slave trade bill into law in 1807, saw no contradiction in referring to the trade as those violations of human rights against the unoffending inhabitants of Africa. All while continuing.
And the reason why they even wrote that bill is because they wanted to make Haiti calm down and relax. Because after we got our independence, we was in Colombia, we was in Greece, we was in Louisiana. We was running rapid, and we was growing. So they had to put a bill. It's like, look, man, we don't want no beef. Yeah. But those focus on the name of Jesus. You know what I'm saying? Yeshua, he's gonna come. Yeah, he's coming.
To keep black descendants of the trade's immediate victims enslaved. Britain itself outlawed the trade in 1807, but slaveholding remained legal afterward in parts of its empire. In the same vein, Pius's private letters referred only
1807. Haiti got their independence in what? 1804, 3 years later. Because they knew that they was coming. Yeah. They knew, listen, at that time, France was the powerfulest most country. Britain was the mastermind, France was the military. And it was taken down by some slaves. But don't let me tell you it, you know what I'm saying? People's gonna tell you, voodoo is evil and wicked. But don't know family, don't know nothing of it personally. But I'm just saying.
only to the trade, not to slavery itself. The papacy's condemnation of the trade, 16th bull, in Supremo Apostolatus. Though the bull came once again at the request of Great Britain, Gregory deserves praise for being the first pope to publicly condemn the Atlantic slave trade after nearly 4 centuries of its operation. The bull was a strong one in many ways, blaming the advent of the trade on Christians who were basely blinded by the lust of sordid greed. And yet, as with Pius VII, Gregory did not speak directly on the issue of whether slaveholders in the Americas should free their enslaved people, something he easily could have included. So when some abolitionists in the United States greeted Gregory's bull as a fully anti-slavery document, Catholic bishops like John England of Charleston, SC, and Francis Patrick Kenrick of Philadelphia argued that the only thing the bull did was precisely what the United States had already done: ban participation in the international slave trade. Gregory corrected no one's interpretation, and so Catholic slaveholding was able to continue in the United States and elsewhere, arguably without disobedience to the church teaching. Approximately 4 years ago, Episcopal Bishop of New York, Andrew M. L. Dietschy, reminded a group of clergy of the ugly history of their diocese. Not only was slavery deeply embedded in the life and economy of colonial New York, but Episcopal churches across the state often participated in it. Church founders, churchgoers, and even churches themselves had enslaved people. The abolitionist Sojourner Truth had once been enslaved by a church in the diocese. The Diocese of New York played a significant and genuinely evil part in American slavery, Dietschy said during his November 2019 address. We must make, where we can, repair. After his speech at the diocese's annual convention, the clergy unanimously voted to set aside $1.1 million of the diocese's endowment for a reparations fund, marking the beginning of what the diocese referred to as the Year of Reparation. The year has become years. Churches across the state have been engaging in a variety of activities to attempt to make amends for this past, putting up plaques acknowledging that their wealth was created by enslaved labor, staging plays about the role their congregation had.
When you hear them putting up plaques, it's just basically showing the mockeries. It's like a low level of mockery. Let me show you and set a reminder to the things that we've done to you. That's just what that means. I just want to just throw that out there.
The slave trade, and committing parts of their endowments to reparations funds. This comes more than a decade after a 2006 resolution by the General Convention in which the national leadership of the Episcopal Church, which is 90% white, called on churches to study how they benefited from slavery. Since then, Episcopal dioceses in Georgia, Texas, Maryland, and Virginia have begun similar programs. Other predominantly white denominations, including the Presbyterian Church and the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, also passed resolutions in 2004 and 2019, respectively, to study the denomination's role in slavery and have begun the process of determining how to make reparations.
Yeah. That's all for the video. Like I said, it was only 30 minutes. You know, I had to cut in and out, give you my input, keep it, educational purposes. You don't want to get hit with a copyright and all of the madness. Like I said, fair use, YouTube. We only here edifying and giving pure clarity on the atrocities of your people. Okay? Now, I'm lost for words because when I watch things like this, I get frustrated. I get annoyed. I get disappointed. And it's to the point where it's like, fam, when are we going to realize that this thing called religion, real legion, is the reason why we have not risen? It's the reason why the world is still in chaos. You guys are believing a story that we know is plagiarized, that it knows that it's filled with contradiction, that you know that is literally a writings and the teachings of a particular group of people that does not look like you. We've never, and I repeat, never knew nothing about such Christianity prior to slavery. You didn't know about Islam until prior to slavery. We didn't know. Like I said yesterday, people ask me, how did we fall? We fell because we was taking their wives and their children for marriage. We was offering our sons and we was taking their wives and we was creating offsprings. And by default, they was learning because naturally, culturally, we have to teach our children what we know. And the children, when you are a mixed breed, you're going to teach other people what you know. And just like when you read the story of Samson, right? Once she found out that it was his hair that was the strength, she told somebody. And what was the first thing that they did? They cut off his hair. The same thing that's happening to them, that happened to Samson, is the same thing that happened to you. You was double crossed. You see, when you dealing with people that is heartless, soulless, that they would sacrifice their own child for whatever means and needs that they need to achieve. When you see that you're dealing with that type of enemy, yeah, and it was too late. And as far as blacks selling slaves, let me give you some clarity behind blacks selling slaves. The slaves that was originally sold were the two types of slaves. The slaves that wanted to be in servitude, that believed, and as you seen, the guy said it, that they was being promised a better life, this in the new world. So just imagine somebody that's not doing nothing, that can't deal with the pressures of Africa, just being an African, an El Cabulan warrior, and wanted to go venture off. Just imagine what you think is gonna happen to that person. He's gonna venture off, and it's like, oh yeah, like, because you couldn't just do what you wanted to do. You had to go to the governor and request, whether it's your emperor, whoever was in power, you had to go to them and request a level of departure. Because everybody was accounted for. See, our communities back in the days is not the communities of today. It was not. People that's not doing whatever. No, everybody knew everybody, right? When you was leaving, you had to let people know. You understand? And we was leaving. But they was lied to. That's one way blacks was selling blacks. And nothing is free in this world, even death. The man agreed. He was like, yeah, I'll go. He was like, yo, he want to go. But what you going to give us? And whatever they gave us, we took, we kept it pushing. Similar to Islam. How did we convert to Islam? Because the conversion to Islam happened, as we was working, trading with them. These people, again, bringing forth their wives and their daughters, and we bringing our sons and stuff like that, and we mating with them, and we having children. And by default, this child must learn the ways of the people, because he's partially the people. And when they knew that, they knew what they was doing. And they were secretly saying, hey, man, you want to do Islam? When they learned that, then they would start bringing forth Islam. And like, oh, look, you get worship and praise. Look, we do this. We do that. That's the old way. You do this, man. And then they were showing us things that they had. And this is how we fell. This is how we fell. Tell you the truth. And the final people that was sold unto slavery was prisoners. Casualties of war. Rebellious people like, yo, man, hey, we'll sell you this. We'll take that. The Americans, the Europeans was like, man, we take it all. Bring them. Bring them. That's how we had our hands in. So when people try to feed you this narrative, make sure they have the correct the correct facts before they start talking this nonsense. That's how our hands was involved in it. Okay? But I want to play I want to show you guys I want to show you guys a video. I want to show you guys not a video, excuse me. I want to show you guys some text, some documentation. Hold on, let me see if I got it up and running already. Oh, bro. Hold on, people. I want to pull this up. Damn, where's that? Hold on. Because I want to show you guys how religion has their hands in our demise. Oh, look, they took it down. They took it down. They're taking these things down. Oh, sorry, you can't find the page. Let me show you so you guys know that I ain't BSing. Let me show you so you guys know that I ain't BSing. So I can show you so you guys know that I'm not BSing. Okay? Sorry, we can't find the page. Okay? Just so you guys can know that I ain't BSing. Oh, I meant to show you guys
Your new book with a very interesting title, A Slave Ship Called Jesus. You know, when I first saw
as you can see. All right? Can't help you. Man, where's this thing at? Hold on, let me pull this thing out. Let me read you this one. All right. So this is the slave voyage. And for those that know, I've been here before. I just want you guys to just see. I'm trying to find the religious version and how they had their hands in our re-indoctrination when it comes to the word of God. The re-indoctrination when it comes to the word of God. I want to show you guys this. Okay? Because like I said, a lot of you guys don't have clean understanding I'm gonna let this man. I'm gonna let Siri play it out for you. Let me know if you guys can hear it too.
In the traffic briefly described, we can now turn to a short narrative of the slave trade. The first Africans forced to work in the New World left from Europe at the beginning of the 16th century, not from Africa. There were few vessels that carried only slaves on this early route, so that most would have crossed the Atlantic in smaller groups on vessels carrying many other commodities, rather than dedicated slave ships. Such a slave route was possible because an extensive traffic in African slaves from Africa to Europe and the Atlantic islands had existed for half a century before Columbian contact, such that 10% of the population of Lisbon was black in 1455, too, and black slaves were common on large estates in the Portuguese Algarve.
That's just one. Let me give you another one. Hold on. This is just one. Let me read this. Let them read this to you. I'm trying to find the one with the religion. Damn, where it is joint at, man. I don't know why it's not playing.
But why were the slaves always African? One possible answer draws on the different values of societies around the Atlantic and, more particularly, the way groups of people involved in creating a transatlantic community saw themselves in relation to others. In short, how they defined their identity. Ocean-going technology brought Europeans into large-scale face-to-face contact with peoples who were culturally and physically more different from themselves than any others with whom they had interacted in the previous millennium. In neither Africa nor Asia could Europeans initially threaten territorial control, with the single and limited exception of Western Angola. African capacity to resist Europeans ensured that sugar plantations were established in the Americas rather than in Africa. But if Africans, aided by tropical pathogens, were able to resist the potential invaders, some Africans were prepared to sell slaves to Europeans for use in the Americas. As this suggests, European domination of Amerindians was complete. Indeed, from the European perspective, it was much too complete. The epidemiological impact of the Old World destroyed not only Native American societies, but also a potential labor supply.
So I want you. I'm gonna leave it as that because I want you guys to do your homework. I want you guys to really start doing your homework. I want you guys to take your stance and really start going down this rabbit hole. Like you really got to go down the rabbit hole. You really got to stand on facts. The fact of the matter is your ancestors was in slavery. That's a fact. Now, a belief or indoctrination or assumption is saying you are from this 12 tribes, or you got to keep the commands, or Jesus died and was risen. That's a belief. These are not facts. These are beliefs. And you got to learn how to separate the two. Because when you stand on belief, you stand on religion. When you stand on facts, you standing with righteousness. It's totally different. Now, righteousness is not of anything to do of the Bible. A righteous person is a person that loves self, that loves everybody, that take cares of everybody, that respects the universe, respects the land, respect the animals, respect the insects, respect it all. That's a righteous man. Respect those around you, respect who you in love with, respect your children. That is a righteous man. Now, as far as finding out our spiritual culture, that's gonna come from when we start walking in pure righteousness. The minute we start walking in pure righteousness, the creators will, I promise you, will drop a dime on your head and you'll be like, wait, hold on. You understand? Hold on, this is my culture. One day you're gonna flick the channel and you're gonna watch something and you're gonna see the Africans dancing and something's gonna make you get up and dance. You're like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? 9 out of 10 times, that's who you are. That's how we gonna find it. And of course, the goal is to make it to the land. We gotta speak to the people in the land. It's a necessary must. And once we get that situated and established, everything is gonna be copacetic, man. Once that's established and we start teaching this to our children and we start operating, these people are going to have no choice but to bring it on. And we need to get on our spiritual side and make sure that when they bring it on, we don't want to turn it off. This is facts. There's no prophecy that everything that was written happened already. If these things is real, it happened already. The book of Daniel is talking about Babylonian captivity. We've been out of Babylonian captivity. The book did not tell you about Egyptian captivity because America is the blueprint of what you call spiritual Egypt, right? So where was the story of Daniel speaking about that? That's a lie. So it's lies. Doesn't add up. Contradiction right there. Next. Next. Exactly. There's no next. All of it. We have to tap into our spiritual side, guys. We have to start doing our own research. We have to go through our own personal experience. We have to start speaking to the people, not those that's been Euro-Christianized. We're not speaking to those. Those brothers and sisters is already lost. Like the Biblos said, the Biblos that you guys read says, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot put old wine in a new bottle. Oh, new wine in an old bottle. You can't do it. No matter how much you try, no matter how much, it's not gonna work. And like I tell my people, my melanated, my beautiful skin, my Bantus, my El Kebulan killers and gangsters, warriors, pimps and hoes. Like I said, the Biblos that you read says you can't serve two masters. It's either you're gonna love one or hate the other. It's either you're gonna be hot or cold. You are the hot. You are the children that needs the sun. They are the ones that needs the cold. You see how I'm able to debunk this for you and break it down for you? You are the heat. Don't be in the middle, which you guys are. If you're going to stand with the creators, you must first denounce the Euro-Christian ideology. You must denounce the monotheism. You must embrace your ancestors. You must embrace your ancestors, your grandmother, your grandfather. You must embrace them. And when you start doing that, that's when you're going to be healed. Everything else is a dub. This is how you're going to be hot. Everything else is a dub. Every single one of you religious participants are lukewarm. All lukewarms. You thinking playing both sides of the field is going to do you justice. You're going to be sitting here waiting for the eternity because you're playing both sides of the field. Just like these people are going to wait eternity for these reparations because they're playing both sides of the field. You can't play both sides of the field and expect to be healed. Come on now. You can't expect to play both sides of the field to be healed. Come on now. Make that make sense. This is their story. It's not your story. They put little peaks and dips and trips. Remember, these are Jesuits. These people are 10 steps ahead of us. They know exactly what they're doing, when to do it, how to do it, whether you believe it is by coincidence or you believe it by gematria. These people are in control. But we can't look that far back because we don't see these things because we think these things don't exist because Jesus is coming to redeem you. All I'm going to say is keep waiting. But over here, the rise of the Bantus, the rise of the black and browns all across town will never be televised. But I was authorized to tell you guys. I was authorized to tell you guys. You guys know what I'm saying to be true. You guys know what I'm saying to be true. You know this, but you're fighting it because you don't want to stand on the side of righteousness. You want to be in between. You want to be like, yo, man, I feel Junior, but yeah, man, this person is saying it. And it's like, okay, whatever they're saying, it has to be backed by facts. The fact of the matter is, I'm standing on the fact that we was enslaved. The fact of the matter is, I'm standing on the fact that children was being sold. The fact of the matter is, I'm standing on the facts that our family was being divided. These are facts. The belief is because of those facts is because you was cursed. That's a belief. That's not proof. These are beliefs. Just like they justify we being in captivity by the terms of Ham. I had a Jewish person tell me, he said, he said, yeah, man, we was in slavery in Egypt for 50 plus years, man, probably even longer. I said, oh, really? He said, yeah. And these people are 10 toes down in that ideology. And I can't dispute him. I can't argue with him because it was his relatives that wrote the book. How I'm gonna argue with with those that inherit this book? How can I? That's why you see all these religious leaders get smoked by these Europeans. They get smoked when it comes to the understanding of this so-called doctrine. They get smoked. And I sit there and I'm like, yo, son, what's going on here? How can we lose something that we saying that is us? And when they come, they break it down. You're just like, wait, what? Say that again? Tonight I'm gonna play a video. I gotta find it. I'm gonna play a video. I think I got it in my old phone, in my iPhone, excuse me. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna play this video for you. And in this video, this man breaks down. You know when the Hebrews like to use the term I'm black and this, this man gonna break it down and tell you what it really means. And this man, you can't say you gotta identify it by going to the Strongs. This man will tell you, he said anybody that's reading from the Strongs, you already compromised because the Strongs is filled with a whole lot of mistakes. That's why every other day is getting an update. It's filled with a whole lot of mistakes. This man said it. This man said, I got a PhD in Hebrew. I got a PhD in the Old and New Testament. This man got a whole PhD. That means that man spent his entire life studying such writings. And here we are, individuals, the Johnny come latelys, that only been here for 5 minutes. Now thinking that we got our chest puffed up and we got enough knowledge to stand before them. And we don't. And we can't. And we need to stop. Ron Dalton, these IUICs, GOCCs, what's in South Africa that you guys want to be there? What's over there that you feel that we need, that we supposed to be there? You know why? Because they gotta come with this foolish final frontier of indoctrination, captivity. That's why they down there. To call on European gods, to learn five Hebrews the entire time they're in a congregation. Salak, Shalom, Shalom, Khan, Salakia, what's the other one? I don't even remember. But when you, the same way that they talking this, I be like, yo, bro, speak, yo, man, you say Salak, man. Speak a full sentence, then and throw Salak in there. Speaking in Hebrew, let me hear Salak. I know Salak means my bad. And brothers gonna say this is the rebuttal. Yo, man, when the Savior come, man, he's gonna give us a new tongue, gonna give us a new speech, man. All we gotta do is wait for the Lord, man. The Lord soon come. When you hear this foolishness, man, it's like, yo, you serious? Well, the Lord is coming for who? For how? For what? Is damn sure not coming from you guys. All you brothers is divided. Every single one of you guys is divided. And you guys got friction. And you guys is murmuring. And you guys is backbiting. And you guys is idolizing the world. Come on, man. Ain't none of this is happening. The only exodus that's gonna happen on this earth is the exodus from the Euro-Christian ideology. Maybe that's going to be the name of the 9 a.m. The exodus of the Euro-Christian ideology with Brother Jones. I'm going to run that with the Wiz and see what she says. The exodus of the Euro-Christian ideology with your Brother Jones. We're going to exit this joint, man. We're going to exit this joint. We're gonna go back into the land in complete purity. Facts. We're going to go back home, and we're going to go back home and represent our ancestors and our creators and our culture pure, and I repeat, pure righteousness. I can't wait to go. Like I said, my stomping grounds, I'm going straight to where I was taken from, where I know my ancestors come from. And we going straight to Benin. Matter of fact, I'm going to travel the whole west coast of Africa, the whole western region of Africa. I'm going to travel that. I'm going to speak to the people. I'm going to speak to the people, and I'm going to learn my culture. I'm going to learn the dance. I'm going to learn the chants. I'm going to learn it all. I'm going to learn it everywhere. Whether you on the west, whether you in the north, whether you in the south, whether you in the east, I'm going to learn. And I'm going to dance, and I'm going to see. And then the creator is going to guide me and tell me, this is where you at. This is where you from. This dance, this ritual goes hand in hand with your soul. I'm not listening to the foolish madness that you guys are saying. You guys sound pathetic. You guys are worse than children that believe Santa Claus is coming. You're worse. Because I'll just say, just show me the facts. Like I said, my stance don't change. Show me the facts. You provide me with the facts, then I stand right here. Don't give me no locations. Don't give me no locations of areas that's been colonized. Don't give me no locations. I don't want no locations of areas that's been colonized. So that alone can be justified, because you guys lost your land. So whoever renamed it, repackaged it, redirected, they doing that. So I can't do that. We can't do that. We want the actual facts. Provide us with the facts, and I will come on tomorrow and be a full-fledged different individual and say everything that you want me to say. I don't care who it is. Christianity, Judaism, Hebrewism, Hinduism, Bantuism, you name it. You provide the facts. You're able to justify it, to prove why we are in these circumstances. I will stand by the side of you guys. But I'm gonna leave it as that, guys. Getting kind of late. Hold on. Where's this joint at? We don't want no interviews. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, people. I'm just saying, people. Where's the messages? Okay. I'm just saying. Hey, I see my moderators is in the building today. Yes. And shout out to the Empress, man. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, me and her, we met through, you know what I'm saying? Look. We met through the journey of the Biblos, the Sub-Sahara being the Holy Land. We met through that. And I present something. She did her own research. She like, yo, what you were saying, it's like it can't be disputed. And I'm not here, and I'm not here to dispute. I'm not here to debate. I'm here to uplift. I'm like, okay, and even if she came and said, nah, look, I looked into that. I will look into that. Plenty of videos my moderator sent me, and I watch these things. I watch it, and all it does, it just justifies what I've been saying. It justifies it. We are not we're not Christians. We're not Euro Christians. I'm not a European. These things that like I said, when you go down the rabbit hole, you're gonna realize that these things doesn't add up. Let me show you. Let me show you guys all the kings that was in the world. Hold on. Let me show you. Hold on. Let me show you. You know what I'm saying? Go to the slave trade and learn, man. The slave voyage database. Check their database. Hold on, let me. Oh, right here. Look, hold on. Let me share my screen. I can't even do it like that. Let me share my screen. Let's look. Take a look. Give me the names of the kings of the Bantu kingdoms in South Africa. Please write in English language. Bantu-speaking people in Southern Africa established several kingdoms over time, and many of their rulers were significant figures in the regional history. Here are some notable kings for the Bantu kingdom in South Africa. This is King. Matter of fact, let me let the computer say, because I don't want to butcher nobody's name.
Mzilikazi Khumalo.
Mr. Lakazi Khumalo, founder of the Ndebele Kingdom, also known as Matabele Kingdom. He led his people from what is now modern-day South Africa to modern-day Zimbabwe, where they established a powerful kingdom. Okay? Now, you need to explain this into the Bible. We know about King Shaka Zulu. We know about that. Okay? King Dingy, Dingang. Let me not butcher these names. Hold on.
Dingang Kasanzangakona.
Dingang Kakazena Kakona. He ruled after Shaka assassination. Okay? Now, if you was to go to Africa today and you speak to these people, everybody's going to remember these kings. Everybody. But nobody's going to be able to remember the King David, the King Solomon, King Saul. Nobody's going to be able to remember that. Nobody don't know about no kingdom, no northern kingdom being up top. I know about the Benin kingdom. I know about the Nigeria kingdom. I know about the kingdom that was in Mali. When I read you Psalms 110 and it says the wrath of God is going to strike the kings, it was talking about you. This story was telling them and justifying the stuff that they was going to do to you. When they came into your land, they said, these are some non-Christian believers. We need to take them down. This is facts. They said, we need to take them down. This is facts. This is not a belief. If we're already keeping the ways, they would have came and said, hey, we see that you keeping the ways, but keep it like this. No. They see they just copying and paste what the Muslims did. When the Muslims showed that, yo, man, yo, it's easy to get them. You gotta do this. Remember, the Muslims got an answer to the Pope. The Pope, the Queen, all of these people work hand in hand with each other, man. One hand washes the other. That's like big sister, little brother, big sister. You understand? It's the same script, the same story. Nothing changes. You have to come to the realization about that. You have to come into the realization that you've been nuked. Not Duke, you've been nuked. These people dropped a nuclear bomb on your spirituality and you guys still haven't recovered. You guys are still suffering from some cancer, some aftermath of some situation because you guys have not yet recovered. And you guys don't even have the proper hazard suit to withstand such destruction. You guys are just you guys have, like, when you watch the Resident Evil and the people that transform into something else, they become one with the atmosphere. You have become one with the atmosphere. And when people is coming with the antidote to heal you, you don't want to be healed. You're like, nah, what you doing? I like being a zombie. I like being under control. I like being oppressed. I like being in these circumstances. I like suffering. I have to suffer because Jesus said I have to go through this. And Jesus is going to come and set me free. Yeshua is going to come and set me free. Yeshua, Yahoo, and the cuckoos and the poo-poos is going to come and set me free. Mercedes is going to come and set me free. How is he going to come and set you free when the story of the New Testament was written thousands of years before the coming of your Savior? Which one is it? These things can be traced back all the way to the Book of the Dead. Like I tell you, the Book of the Dead, when you read it, it's side by side. There's a book out right now titled The 16 Saviors. I'd advise you guys to go get that. It's titled The 16 Saviors, where you're going to know about 16 saviors that came before the understanding of Jesus. I put up a video for you guys before. Maybe I need to put it up again, where you could see the Horus story go side by side with the Jesus story. Side by side. Horus was 12 when he did this. He was 12. He had 12 men. Jesus got 12 men. He was resurrecting, healing people, bringing them from the dead. Jesus was doing that. I'm just saying. We got to do better, people. We got to wake up into the understanding of what's going on. There's a serious thing going on out here. It's time for you to put on your hazard suits, man. It's time for you guys to go get healed. You need your medication. You need your medication of your ancestors. You need the medication of the creators. You need the medication. You need the medication of the land. You need it to help you fight this European ideology. You can't tell me you can't tell me you're not part of a religion and you're not a religious person when you bring forth a biblos. If you try to give me wisdom and you tell me, yo, brother, go to Matthew chapter 19, right, verse 15, read, then you part of the problem, bro. And that's what's going on in the world. We don't see where the problem resides. We thinking the problem is us. We thinking the problem is the people not being the people being rebellious. The people is not complying. The people is not standing. The people is going off. This is the ideology that comes with the Euro-Christian nonsense. No, it's not that. People are waking up. That hypnosis is not sitting with the people no more. The Bantus are not eating that. We're not. All over the world. We're not. Africa is the last remaining place of new Catholic Church Christian goers because they got their hands so far into our lives. You think the children in school, you think the children in Africa's school, you think they're learning about Africa? Do you think they're learning about Africa? These niggas is learning about Alexander the Greek. These people are being told that you need to learn how to speak English, or you need to learn some a foreign French, European language. Come on, these is facts. It's not me telling you this. Speak to the people. Speak to the people, and you're gonna understand that we're being played. Ah, man, this joint crazy. Sing some more for you. See, around this time, with King Mpenzi, this is when they started coming. This is when they came and they brought the Hebrew stuff into Sub-Sahara. Around this time. Prior to stuff like this, we didn't know. We didn't know. We didn't know. Who's these people? Who's these people? We don't know why we don't know these people. And this is an issue. We need to know African history. But you're not going to be able to comprehend it. You're not going to grasp to it. You're not going to desire it as long as you believe that you are a Christian. You want to be lukewarm. You say Africa is the Holy Land, but yet to justify whatever you believe in, you got to use a book that was literally forced upon you. I'm going to leave it as that, guys. I'm going to leave it as that, guys. I'm not even going to fight you guys. I'm going to leave it as that. But listen, man, I hope if you guys like what you heard, share this, like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon, follow me on all these social media platforms, join the regime, be a part of this awakening. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to all those that made it out of this hurricane in one piece. My condolences to those that lost themselves, you know what I'm saying, that was unalive or just dealing with the trials and tribulations of a hurricane. My condolences, you know what I'm saying? You know, nothing but love coming from my end. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, we can get something going where we can deliver some care packages. You know what I'm saying? Can't do it alone, you know? But you guys hold it down, man. And if you don't know who I am him, Junes, the Honorable JUNNSNBIC. You understand? AKA Mr. Bang the Gavel on you heathens, you Hebrews, and the Nudian store heathenites snacks. But they don't stop there. We bang the gavel on all religion as well. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hebrewisms, and every other isms that's keeping us in spiritual prison. We bang the gavel on that ass. And if I said this once, I'm going to say it again, man. Stay connected, stay tuned in, continue supporting Monday, 9 a.m. on the dot. I'm on the top spot, preaching to the streets. I got a whole lot of things on my mind that I'm ready to speak. But yeah, man. I hope you guys had a good one. Remember the ship. Remember the ship of Jesus. Remember what they did. Remember what they're using. And remember what they're still using. It's your brother, man. You understand? And I'ma holler at y'all. One.